So you're thinking about leaving Toronto, or maybe you're moving to the area and you've quickly realized Toronto is just not in your budget. Don't worry, it isn't for most of the population. You got a couple kiddos, able to spread your wings, plant your seed. Well, today we're going to be talking about what the differences in those two places are like, cost differences, lifestyle differences, commute, all that good stuff. So stick around, we're going to jump right into it. Before we do, I am the People's Realtor, and if you are thinking about moving to the area, give me a call, text, whatever, email. I'm always available, and we love helping people and like this video. So let's jump right into it. Now we're gonna move over to the map here. Now take a look. If you've never seen Hamilton on a map or Toronto on a map, we got beautiful Lake Ontario right here. We got Toronto up top to the north, and then we got Hamilton. This commute, not so bad. Obviously, the bad times are at rush hour, right? When you gotta go to work. And I know a lot of people, they come from Toronto to move to Hamilton and they gotta do the commute. Sometimes people think they could do it, and you know what? It's not for the weak-hearted and they give up on it. But anyways, as we can see right now, and we're talking 12:17, it's gonna take you an hour and 14 minutes if you're gonna go back. Not the greatest, right? On a good day, you're gonna be able to get to Toronto like 45 minutes, but that's not gonna be the case when you gotta go to work, right? This is where you're gonna see the big jam. Mississauga, there's a lot of people in this area. In fact, it's the most densely populated part of Canada. And in fact, the busiest highway in the world is Highway 401, which kind of cuts around it through this whole metro area. That's a little bit north and west. We're talking about the QEW, the Queen Elizabeth Way, the main highway that connects Toronto and Hamilton. So if you're driving by car, you really got to plan your routes and your times for leaving. So you can take the GO train, you can get on at downtown Hamilton station, or you can go to Burlington. They got two stations in Burlington. If you know you're more east end Hamilton, Stony Creek, you go over the bridge and you go to Burlington, then you take the commute. Now, the commute lifestyle is a lifestyle. If you got to work every day in Toronto and you got to make that commute, I don't know about you, I don't think I'd want to do it. I know a lot of people that have did it, you know, they're still doing it, and some said, I can't do this. And, you know, they figure something else out. If you're fully work from home, you know, it can be great. Maybe you got to go in here and there for an event, or if you work 1 or 2 days a week in the office, it's not that bad, right? You go on the GO train, you pop on a podcast, whatever, you know, you work on something. GO train's pretty good too. They got bathrooms, it's air conditioned, you know, not so bad. So the commute can be not so bad, pretty good, pretty terrible, depending on traffic. If you're gonna hit some traffic, or if you're gonna hit an accident on the QEW in the morning, you're gonna be slammed. And like I said, this is just such a dense area of people that there's just always so many people around trying to get to work, hustle and bustle. You know, as I've said it before, Southern Ontario, the Golden Horseshoe, a very busy place, you know, and you can definitely feel it. It's a bit of a stressful city area, just this whole region, right? You go outside of it, you go out east and stuff like that, it's a completely different vibe. So if you're coming from somewhere like that, be prepared. It's a different kind of pace here, right? But yeah, beautiful place to live. We got so many positives out here, and we're just gonna keep on rolling. Now, probably the biggest factor, let's talk about it, money, right? Cost of living between these two places is stark. It's very different. You know, it's moving to Canada estimates that Hamilton is about 25% cheaper than Toronto. Another one has it as 19% cheaper than Toronto, you know, because of lower housing costs. Everyday goods can be a little bit cheaper, and a detached home average in Toronto is around $1.5, $1.6 million. And you compare that to Hamilton, which is around $750,000 to $800,000. So your money is going to take you a lot further in Hamilton. So maybe you're looking at your budget and you're looking at places in Toronto and you got to live in a condo. You're not going to have a backyard. Maybe you have a new family. You got a young kid. You want them to be able to have a yard to go out and play, go do whatever they want. So your budget can work for you a lot more in Hamilton. Now, just to kind of illustrate that point a little bit, let's jump over to some listings here. And now we're going to go look through what you can get in Toronto. Okay, 1.5 mil, and you're getting a row house. It's nice. Well, I mean, it looks nice. It looks like It was renovated fairly recently. And, you know, I'm looking at these finishings, kind of tell, but yeah, it looks okay. This I don't like here. You got a radiator and you got a heat pump, which, don't get me wrong, heat pumps, nothing wrong with them. But if that means there's no central air in the house, you might not like that, especially for the price you're paying, right? And I haven't looked at too much of this listing. I just pulled it up. See, we got another one up there. So you want to be able to have central air. I don't see why this house wouldn't. Maybe it's not able to cool it down, but definitely looks like an older building. So yeah, that is $1.5 million in Toronto. Another one, 1.4. Now we got a detached home here, which is great. But 1.4 million, that can be quite difficult to afford, right? And it doesn't look like anything special. You know, I always say, don't fall in love with the house with the pictures, right? Because real estate photographers can work magic on these things, okay? You got to go in to see the house. Honestly, I'm looking at this. I don't like this tile up here. I think you would go in this house and you would start taking a bit of a closer look and you're not going to love the finishings, but I digress. That's not what we're here to talk about. The flooring, see, people do crazy things all the time. Anyways, moving on. What else we got in Toronto? $1.6 million. For this house, beautiful garden. I love the garden. Kind of got a salon vibe in here, but $1.6 million, right? So if you're moving to Toronto, you're moving for your job and you're looking at these things and you just can't swing it, you might be looking at different areas. Now, going back to our map here, you can find these places in Mississauga too. Mississauga, definitely more expensive than Hamilton, growing very quickly along with Brampton. And next to Mississauga, we got Oakville. Oakville is like the Beverly Hills, okay? It's where all the big money's at. Beautiful homes there, very kind of luxurious living. Obviously not everywhere, but for the most part, very expensive. Burlington, as you go down the QEW, right around here, beautiful spot. Definitely more expensive than Hamilton. They're building a lot up too. So Hamilton, you're gonna find along the QEW, probably the best bang for your buck, but obviously it's a little bit farther than all these places, right? You gotta go down the QEW to get there. GO train is always an option as well. Now, let's jump down the QEW, rip south, and let's take a little bit of look at some Hamilton homes. So here's Hamilton. You got the Skyway Bridge that jumps over the harbor and takes you down the QEW. Hamilton, if you've never seen it, we got the escarpment that runs right through here, which kind of splits the city into two. This is Lower Hamilton and this is Upper Hamilton. And then we got Stony Creek to the east here and then Westdale down here. And I'm making a mess of this map, but you get the idea. It's a great little city, mid-sized city, I think around 600,000. You might have heard some not so great things, but I promise you there's much more to the city than what you've heard or whatever, okay? So jumping into some Hamilton homes, let's see what we got. 775, you get a nice little sleepy town, or you get a nice little home. Looks good to go, looks good to move in. Finishings look pretty good. I mean, this is, how much was this one? 775. So you get this home for 775. It's got a nice yard. Let's take a look at the backyard. See? So this is where your money can really work for you a bit better, right? So, you know, I think that's even a little bit on the high side, to be honest. But so here's another one, 620, which, you know, that's not a bad price. You can come in here, maybe you have some money left over, you can do some updating. But this is a great location, East 23rd, that's up on the mountain, very grid-like streets. So easier to get around if you have a car. Public transit, not so great. If you're gonna be walking, you're gonna wanna stick to the lower level, okay? Moving on. So we got $599, okay? Comes with a nice little detached garage, nice lot, great spot for your family. If you wanted to come in here, do a little bit of renovations, you could do that, right? So all I'm trying to say is these price points are drastic. Now, what does that look like, right? If you're moving from Toronto to Hamilton, you're expecting to move to a place like Toronto, you can't afford it, so you got to pick somewhere else. Well, obviously, Toronto is the biggest city in Canada. It is, I think, third or fourth largest city in North America, believe it or not. But with that kind of world-class city status, it comes with all these great amenities and festivals and great communities and stuff like that. And for a lot of people, they kind of need to be in that. They want to be somewhere, there's always something going on down the street. They can go outside of their house and have 100 things to do, to walk, to explore. Well, I'm not going to lie, Hamilton is quite different than that. Not to say that Hamilton doesn't have its own identity, culture, and communities and stuff like that. It's just on a smaller scale. And where Toronto, you have this real ease of transport and subway, streetcar, buses running like clockwork, and it's really easy to get around if you don't have a car. In fact, it's probably harder to get around if you have a car because it's so easy to just hop on a subway and get wherever you want. Hamilton, much different, very car-centric city, okay? When we go back to the map and we're looking at Hamilton on the map here, like I said, we got this big escarpment that cuts through the city. Now, that's the escarpment. It's a mountain. It's not really a mountain. That's what we call it, but it goes up. It splits the cities. So down here, we got Hamilton, kind of downtown core, stuff like that. And obviously, that's a little more walkable. Public transit is pretty good there. Find the GO train station there. But once you go up the mountain, up the hill there, it was developed much later, and it was developed in a very car-centric era, right? So the streets are laid out in a very nice grid-like system, which is great. But yeah, it's, very busy streets, cut through. If you want to, go to the mall or something, you're likely going to have to get in your car and go to whatever you need. Obviously that's not every spot on the mountain, but I think that I can speak for the majority of that. So, lifestyle, right? You want to be in that city kind of vibe. Well, you're going to want to be in downtown Hamilton. Now, there are some great spots. Hess Village, Locke Street, James Street, Ottawa Street. These are very nice spots you got cafes and arts and venues and stuff like that. Great restaurants. So in that regard, Hamilton is great. Like if you're a foodie, we got tons of good stuff. If you kind of want to be in the heart of, where, festivals are going on and stuff like that, you want to kind of be in the core or the west of that. But if you don't care about that kind of stuff, you got your car, you just want your space, you want to have your nice yard so the kids can go play, maybe you want a pool, Hamilton Mountain's a great option for you. And also, Stony Creek, Ancaster, Burlington, if you can swing it. Obviously, you need a little bit more cashish, but Burlington's also another great option. Now, one thing I will say that Hamilton has a lot of that I think is underrated, and you won't find it in Toronto, and it's something you enjoy, is kind of our nature, our green spaces, hiking trails. I think we got a great amount of them and stuff like that. As you can see, Hamilton's covered by a lot of greenery, especially around here. You got Cootes Paradise, Royal Botanical Gardens, and believe it or not, Hamilton is the city of waterfalls. It has over 130 waterfalls, ton of them. You can go and explore, and it's just beautiful. So I think that's something we got on Toronto, and I bet no one knows that, but I digress. And if that's something you enjoy, I got the best spot. So you reach out to me, the People's Realtor, call, text, email, numbers below, and we can chat about it. I'll put you right where you want to be, okay? Also, like and subscribe so we can keep this train rolling. One last thing I want to talk about is, the culture, the changing cultures in each of these places. Toronto, obviously, being the biggest city, has thriving arts and music scene and so many great local venues and stuff like that. But we've been seeing a big change in Toronto, right? Especially during that boom. Countless venues closing down their doors. Once iconic music venues shuttered, and you don't gotta ask me twice how I feel about it because I am a musician and it hurts my soul to see these places close down for another condo building, right? But it's been happening in Toronto. Don't get me wrong, love the place. Definitely becoming more of a corporate condo kind of vibe, which has definitely slowed because they built all these condos, these shoeboxes, these studio apartments, one bedrooms. You can't even stretch your arms out without touching the walls. But anyways, Hamilton, not saying they haven't suffered the same thing, but we have seen a lot of these restaurateurs, artists, and musicians move here because of the affordability, and they kind of contribute their talents and stuff like that to the community, and they really embrace it, and the community embraces it as well because it's so great. So that's something to consider, right? Hamilton is so much more than maybe you've heard this rough place. I promise you, it's got so much more than that. So many positives, and I could go on all day about it. But we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, I am the People's Realtor, and it is my absolute pleasure and goal to assist the fine people of the Golden Horseshoe and beyond. We get calls from people every day thinking about moving to the area, and we absolutely love it. So hit that like and subscribe button and reach out to me any which way, and we'll get back to you. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.